Hiya folks, back again with another, not a vinyl finds, if you've noticed. I haven't been buying any records lately. A couple of irons in the fire. So I just wanted to kind of go over and just show some stuff, just take some stuff from the shelf and show it to you guys. I guess this is sort of inspired by Eric the Viking, which for some reason just sort of discovered his channel. That's the beauty of the VC, is where, you know, separate but parallel lives, and then just one video sort of brings it all together. So Eric, and this also goes out, you know, Memphis Vinyl Jim, Sour Juggernaut, just been getting into your videos. Any of those people that love the psychedelic stuff. So, you know, hey, cheers, this one's for you. Just as you can see by the title, just going to do some of my sunshine pop, psychedelic sort of stuff, garage rock. Just figured I would show what I got. So sit back and probably want to get yourself a couple of these, because this is going to be a long one. So drinking some of New York's finest right there. Stuff is fantastic and cheap. But anyhow, so let's start here with the 1910 fruit gum. This is Juiciest Fruit Gum. It's the best of. I'm just going to kind of go through these really quick. 1, 2, 3, red light. Stefan 73. You're another one. If you're watching this. Here's Goody Goody Gumdrops. Gotta love this stuff, seriously. Just great. Great. Oh, that's on the Buddha label, of course. Here is Indian Giver. Wonderful stuff. This, I believe, is a stereo copy. Indian Giver. It's a really great album. I had some music playing, but it's very distracting. I don't know if you guys feel that way, but and anybody else, if you're interested in getting into psychedelic music, if you see any of these albums, you know, definitely pick them up. Psychedelic, Sunshine Pop, Light Psych. It's the 910 Fruit Gum, 1910. Why do I keep saying that? 1910 Fruit Gum Company. Simon Says. This album I had been looking for such a very, very long time, and then I went to Buffalo, New York, and found it for 97 cents. So, you know, had contemplated it for $12 or $15 at some points. This one is one of these albums that, you know, this sort of pays to sort of, you know, when you're digging. This is a Christian psychedelic album. It's by a group called Brainwashed. Glenn Schwartz and Brainwashed. I believe they put out 2 albums. They were sort of a commune of sorts. I believe they were from Ohio. But, I mean, just very interesting stuff. This is, you know, when you come across this stuff, you got to pick it up. I mean, sometimes the Christian psych music, I don't know. Sometimes when I go to record shows and people label albums as psychedelic music, and you know, sometimes you definitely have to use caution. This one I wish I could find a better copy of, but it's really awesome. It's on the it's on Atlantic, from 1968. It's the Apple Pie Brotherhood, or I'm sorry, Apple Pie Motherhood Band. Really cool stuff. Fantastic. Here's some more Sunshine Pop. Here's the Archies, Jingle Jangle. Of course, the Archies were famous for Sugar Sugar, which I think is on this album. No. Skeletons in the Closet coming out here, folks. This is Sunshine by the Archies. I believe this is their last album that they did. Not really too sure what this is all about. I think the date that this person bought this, Monday, August 31st, 1970, at Woolco Department Store, Charlottesville, Virginia, for $3.62. I think I probably paid $4 for it. This is another one I probably want to get a better copy of. The cover is pretty battered here, but everything Archie's. This has Sugar Sugar on it, so Sugar Sugar, ba 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 ba. Of course, Don Kirshner, which I believe did, you know, of course, kind of had a thing with the Monkees. Those are greatest hits of theirs. 4 albums. These fellows are local, kind of a garage band, of course. The Arondis or Arondines, I don't know how they pronounce it, but some local guys. This is on the Get Hip label. Spud Boy, big fan of that. Their warehouse is probably about a mile from where we live right now. Really cool stuff. They did a song called 69, sort of a instrumental number. This one's on Tower. Davey Allen and the Arrows, blues theme. Really just awesome song. It's on the Nuggets box set. Here's a couple by The Association. The Association, Windy, which of course has Windy, Never My Love, kind of the 2 biggies on that one. Really good songs in here. Wanting Ain't Getting is actually a pretty good song too. And Reputation, sort of their rave up of sorts. Really cool stuff. You ever see these? These are usually pretty cheap. People bought them for the other songs, but they're, you know, if you're into light psych and things like that, definitely great stuff. Birthday by The Association. Again, this is probably the most psychedelic that they get. And 2 different copies of this. Renaissance, which of course has Pandora's Golden Heebie-Jeebies, I believe Derek once said. Of course, that's the, you know, huge psychedelic number, but it was actually released as a single, I believe. This is the mono version on Valiant, and then the stereo version. And these were, of course, produced by Jerry Yester, which, of course, like Gary Usher and Kurt Bottcher. This actually was recorded by Kurt Bottcher. I got a couple of copies of this. This is the Warner Brothers version. This had a nice little something that somebody clipped out of the newspaper on this. This is the stereo version. And then, of course, the Valiant versions. This is the mono version of Along Comes Mary. I don't know if I mentioned it. That was what it was. There's the stereo version. A little bit of a difference between the stereo and mono. Some of the songs actually, there's a few songs which are a little bit different. Here's 2 that definitely are really cool. Definitely search out. This is Leon Russell and Mark Beno, or Mark Beno, I don't remember. Beno, I think is how he pronounces it. The Asylum Choir. Of course, they were session musicians, even maybe part of the Wrecking Crew, if you want to go as far as saying that. I believe this is how it officially got released, was on this cover, but this is sort of the, you know, the later repressing once Leon Russell sort of got popular. But Look Inside, which is this one, is definitely the better of the 2, in my opinion. This is the Asylum Choir 2. Let's see. Try to keep these in alphabetical order. I got a couple that I have. Actually, I guess this would be next. Some of these I have sort of in my favorites. You know, if the house is burning down, these are the ones to grab. You know, Beach Boys, Pet Sounds, definitely a great album. Kind of has that, you know, psychedelic, sort of the transition album. And of course, Smiley Smile. Just great, fantastic album by the Beach Boys. The Beacon Street Union, The Clown Died in Marvin Gardens. I really can't say much about these guys. I mean, of course, the lead track off of this is a great song, great psychedelic song. Really holds its own. The rest of the album is patchy at best. There was a record store in Pittsburgh that sort of more like a bookstore, but they do have their own sort of little kind of record part. And one day I was just sort of making my rounds around Pittsburgh, and some of the things I know, I've been talking about Record Store Day and things like that, but I mean, there is a ton of record stores in Pittsburgh. I mean, at least 11 good stores that I would say. This one that I got this at is kind of one of those ones you could probably go once a month and then, you know, just kind of clean them out for what they got. But this was $3. And when I saw it, I was like, okay, I'll take that. So really cool stuff. The Beau Brummels. This is a great album on Autumn. This was the same label, I believe, that San Francisco label, basically. The big one on this, is, of course, is Laugh Laugh. Let's see. This will be the next one. Big Brother and the Holding Company. This was their debut on Mainstream. I think after this, I think they were signed to Columbia. Shortly after this, of course, they played the Monterey Pop Festival. The Blades of Grass Are Not for Smoking. I'm not really too sure what the... I'm trying to think of what the I don't know. I don't remember what exactly the big track was off of this, but nice sort of psychedelic. When I worked at a record store, this album showed up, and I didn't know what it was, and I sort of passed on it. But you know, the cover sort of stayed in my mind for a very long time, and then eventually, when I did see it, made sure not to pass it up. The Blues Magoos with the Psychedelic Lollipop. Of course, We Ain't Got Nothing Yet, kind of the big single off of that. Tobacco Road. Just a really great garage psychedelic. Electric Comic Book, of course, their next album. Sort of was not as good as this one, but still some good stuff. Move on to this one, Blood, Sweat, and Tears. I know that Eric had shown us one of my favorite albums of all time, Al Kooper. You know, his work kind of goes without saying. Of course, the cover, definitely, as he said, one of the weird covers. And you know what? Al Kooper did this a lot. This is sort of like the pre-Photoshop kind of thing. He did an album called I Stand Alone, which I will show when we get to the Ks. But kind of the same thing. Cut the head out, put him on the Statue of Liberty. I don't know why he did that, but he did that quite a bit. This is just a great album, beginning to end. Hands down, just a fantastic album. This is another one, kind of more so for the blues rock. Al Kooper and Mike Bloomfield, The Live Adventures, fantastic double album. You know, the 59 Street song, or sorry, 59 Street Bridge song, which is, you know, Simon and Garfunkel, you know, kicking down the cobblestones and feeling groovy. They just do a fantastic version of it. And of course, Norman Rockwell, you know, did the cover there, which is all, you know, Americana at its best. Here is Super Session. It's another one of my favorite albums, sort of when I discovered this. You know, all bets were off, basically. Of course, you know, you have Mike Bloomfield and then also Steve Stills. Sort of when he was in his transition period. Steve Stills, for those who don't know, Blood, Sweat, and Tears actually wanted Steve Stills to be the lead singer, and of course they kind of settled on David Clayton Thomas, but I would imagine that this album is sort of, you know, kind of a precursor of what could have been. You know, obviously he went down the Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, or Crosby, Stills, and Nash sort of way, but very interesting as far as with how history would go. If these two, I would imagine that their egos, they would not be in, they may do one fantastic album together, this one that we have in our hands, but it would be interesting to see, would have Al Kooper stayed in Blood, Sweat, and Tears had Steve Stills been the lead singer. A couple from the Blues Project, of course, that was the band that, you know, Al Kooper was in. There he is. Danny Kalb and Steve Katz. Steve Katz, of course, went on to be in Blood, Sweat, and Tears. This is a great live album, sort of a pseudo-live album, of course. Live at Town Hall. No Time Like the Right Time was featured on the Nuggets compilation, which is really great psychedelic number. along with Cafe Agogo. I believe this was an actual live recording. This was on Verve Folkways. I definitely got these albums at a very early age, and they sort of, you know, influenced my my musical taste for quite a bit. And then the king daddy of them all, of course, is Projections, which this is a mono copy, which I believe is the way that it should be listened. Just fantastic music. 2 Trains Running. Just a huge, you know, it's an 11-minute song. These guys had some huge potential. You know, Al Cooper, of course, being very, very, you know, he has a very interesting take on things. You know, usually does something just, you know, he of course was with Leonard Skinner that he had, you know, introduced them, discovered them, if you will. This is just a fantastic album. Let me see here. This is just a greatest hits. Love this cover though. Really, really cool. Sort of, you know, just a best of on Verve Folkways. Bodine. This is more sort of like a country rock kind of album. I'm not really sure why that went in there, but really liking this band. This album was really good. I think one of the guys did some session stuff with the Doors, if I remember correctly, but this is on MGM, which put out some great psychedelic stuff, you know, like you know, Eric Burdon and the Animals, also Ultimate Spinach. There was definitely a vendetta out for a lot of the musicians, like, you know, even, you know, Verve, of course, was a subsidiary of MGM, but a lot of those bands like the Velvet Underground, you know, all the kind of the drug-related bands, they were dropped. I forget who the it's eluding me now, but the crap, what is the guy's name? There was definitely some change of management as far as with the, you know, the A&R department and things like that, and it was really just, man, what is that guy's name? I forget right now. He did like one album. He did Burning Bridges. I want to say Mike Post, but it's not Mike Post. Burning Bridges, of course, was in the sorry, was in this movie with Clint Eastwood and Don Rickles. Kelly's Heroes was like the theme song. I don't remember what the heck the name of the band was. But anyhow, here's Sonny with Inner Visions. This is Sonny Bono's solo album. One song on here, I don't remember which one it is, but it's, oh, I Just Sit There. It's like a 12-minute song. It's a really interesting album, but, you know, and that American Psych sort of thing, definitely some good stuff. This is the Boston Tea Party. I believe they only put out one album. This is on Flick Disc. I got this really, really cheap one time, and then I saw it at a record store for like $80. It's pretty good. I mean, not anything that's like too fantastic, but still some cool stuff. I guess they kind of mirrored Paul Revere and the Raiders, I guess, but we're a little more psychedelic. And that one kind of goes without saying. Blue Cheer, that's their first one. Vince Bus Eruptum, of course, had, you know, just some great songs on it. You know, of course, Summertime Blues is the big one. Parchment Farm is also another one of my favorites, but just really, really cool stuff. This came out on the Philips label. This is a stereo copy. On to Bread's first album. This is on their Elektra label. Of course, you know, all the Elektra bands had sort of their own logo. This is a really great kind of pre-singer-songwriter. If you like Bread, their later stuff, this really doesn't sound a lot like it, but I think there was 2 songs on here. I don't remember what they are offhand, but you know, that they did later, kind of a redo. I was looking for this album forever, and then I eventually found it. But definitely some cool stuff. You know, it's their first album, so on the Elektra 4000 series. So 4044. All right, next one Box Tops, of course, Alex Chilton. It's really, really great stuff. You know, of course, they did The Letter. Which reminds me, I guess I have a few that I didn't put in there. I have Cry Like a Baby, but I haven't quite filed that away. This is sort of one of the last albums that they did, but still really cool stuff. Just kind of American rock and roll at its finest. Here is The Letter. Of course, just a great song. Joe Cocker definitely did it up. It's just so crazy to see how young they are. They were seriously very, very... I think some of them were 15 or 16 when this one came out. Of course, on Bell Records. Here is Nonstop. Kind of some more, you know, light psych, kind of sunshine pop, cool stuff. Now these are some, nobody really shows these, but there's some of my favorite records. Of course, they wrote a ton of songs for the Monkees. I'm talking about Boyce and Hart. You know, they wrote songs like P.O. Box. I don't even know what the number is. It's on one of these albums, I think. I don't know. Whatever that song is. P.O. Box. I wish I knew. Anyhow. Just a really cool group of guys. Just two guys, you know, sort of reaping the benefits. This one, of course, is a promo copy of all the, you know, sitting back and enjoying the, you know, the fruits of their labors, I guess. This one was $10, but again, white label promo. Boyce and Hart, Test Patterns, Out and About. Let's see what else is on here. Let me look and see what the Monkey songs are here. Do a cover of Jumpin' Jack Flash on that one. This is my favorite. I Wonder What She's Doing Tonight. And there's also one verse where it definitely says, I wonder who she's doing tonight. Pretty Flower, great song. I Want to Be Free. That was another song that the Monkees definitely did. It's really cool stuff. Boyce and Hart. If you ever see these, definitely pick them up. The Brooklyn Bridge, there's a couple that I need to get, but this is probably the biggest one that has the What's the Worst That Could Happen on it. They were definitely, you know, the large group of individuals. Some light psych there. Let's see. Got Brotherhood, which this was when basically Smitty and Drake and Fang, when they had left the Paul Revere and the Raiders, they sort of did this. They did 2 albums, and you know, this one was probably their first. This was definitely their first album, but it was sort of a flop of sorts. But still, really, really great stuff. And interesting enough, on the back picture, I was reading that this is sort of, you know, they sort of just put his head in here. So obviously you can see, you know, that hand is definitely not his hand. But I guess it was a guy that they met at a bar, and they were kind of fearing for their life there, but somebody snapped that picture, and then they, you know, superimposed the face on top. All right, so moving on to the Buckinghams. Buckinghams were out of Chicago. Of course, the big one was Kind of Drag, which is not on this album. Mercy, Mercy, Mercy's on here. Just really cool stuff. Kind of Foreign Policy was sort of also the Pity to Be the Dragon Hunter were sort of two kind of touching their toes in psychedelic music, but this is some great stuff. This is a mono copy. In One Ear and Gone Tomorrow sort of reminds me of sort of like a, you know, they look sort of like a Buffalo Springfield type of group there. But again, just kind of some light psych. You know, we're definitely kind of, you know, leftovers from the garage sort of era. Really didn't embrace psychedelia too well. They were sort of more concerned about pop hits, but which is okay. I mean, they put out some great albums. Here's Portraits by the Buckinghams. Another just great album. All right, so here's a couple for, you know, Eric the Viking, who has the coolest British accent of all time. Here's the first Buffalo Springfield album. It's a stereo copy. This is a second pressing. Not sure if you know this or not, but for what it's worth, was not on the original pressing. That was actually just as a single. And then on the second pressings, they have this. Really just fantastic stuff. Steve Stills there, of course, Neil Young. There's Last Time Around, which is their last album. And Buffalo Springfield again, which on the back here, it's like, you know, they kind of list all their inspirations. You know, of course, Fred Neil, who wrote Everybody's Talking, Jack Nietzsche, Bob Gibson, just kind of a who's who of, you know, Hank Marvin, of course, was in the Shadows, Otis Redding, Doc Watson, Hank Williams, Ricky Nelson, The Ventures, Roy Orbison, Ian and Sylvia, Jimi Hendrix, Burt Jansch, Jim and Gene, Gene Pitney, Buddy Miles. I mean, just, you know, just fantastic. Just really a who's who, you know, and it's crazy to see this, you know, on the back of, you know, all these people that were not on, you know, of course, were not on Atco or, you know, and it's really crazy to see that, you know, of course, that showing up on albums. But hey, you know, it was the 60s, so another great album. Here's one by the Paul Butterfield Blues Band. This is the resurrection of Pig Boy Crabshaw. This was after Mike Bloomfield left the band, but still just a great album. Some moments of psychedelic, definitely leaning a little bit towards more blues rock, but very progressive, so very awesome. And last but not least, just a couple from, you know, America's version of the Beatles, in my opinion. Here's the Byrds with Dr. Byrds and Mr. Hyde. Just some great stuff. King Apathy the Third on here. This Wheel's on Fire. Nashville West. Bad Night at the Whiskey. Just a fantastic album. Produced by Bob Johnson, who, you know, of course, did Dylan's Nashville Skyline and produced some of Johnny Cash's albums, like Johnny Cash at Folsom Prison. Fantastic. Just great stuff. I'll put that over here. This is an awesome one. Fifth Dimension. Just, you know, cannot describe how awesome this album is. Wild Mountain Thyme, Mr. Spaceman, What's Happening, Hey Joe, 8 Miles High. Of course, the mono version. I was just listening to it today. Magnifique. Fantastic. Here's the Younger Than Yesterday. It's a mono copy. It was only $1. I can't believe I got that for $1. Awesome stuff. Mr. Tambourine Man. No collection is complete without. Again, another mono copy. Produced by Terry Melcher. You know, I think the Byrds albums, much like the Rolling Stones, the mono copies are the ones that you definitely want to have. Turn, Turn, Turn. This is just a kind of a collection of earlier stuff here. Pre-Flight. This came out on the Together label. And two more. The Byrds Untitled, really coming around to this album. I mean, it's one of those ones that I never really didn't take to at first, but kind of when I forced myself to put it on and I listened to it, I realized how fantastic it is. So it's still kind of one of those ones that are, I guess you could say it's a slow burner. And last but not least, just probably one of my favorites, next to Sweetheart of the Rodeo, which is the Notorious Byrd Brothers. I didn't pull Sweetheart of the Rodeo out because it's not really a psychedelic album. More of a country rock, cosmic American music, if you will. But this is a great album. Kind of David Crosby's departure. I believe he did play on a couple of these tracks, though. I actually did. And produced by Gary Usher. You know, kind of produced Sagittarius and, you know, with Kurt Botcher. So there you go. Half an hour. Hope you enjoyed my rambling. So take care, and we'll see you on down the trail.